Welcome to Growth with Portia, a weekly conversation for your personal and professional growth. Here is your host, Portia Booker.
Hey listeners, welcome to Growth with Portia. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. So, question for you, did you bring your curious mind today? If so, I don't want to keep you waiting. Let's dive in. This conversation is a special episode of Grew with Portia in honor of my beloved mother, Sharon Lopez, who made her transition from Earth on July 7th, 2022. So today I'm joined by an overcomer who attended the School of Adversity with a colorful palette in hand. Today, she is on a mission to help others convert the adverse moments in their life into art. So welcome, transformation coach, Reiki healer, artist, and speaker, Miss Nafsheen Luhar. How you doing today, Nafsheen?
I am doing wonderful, Portia. Thank you for such a beautiful, vibrant introduction. That was lovely.
You know, when I first heard your story and first saw you, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have her on my show. But like life happened and all the things, right? Like what we talked about with divine timing. And then just one of your posts popped up recently. And I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot about her. Let me address this now. So I'm like, it just worked out the way that it did. And I'm just forever grateful. And Nafsheen, I love to start off my conversations with gratitude. What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for the space I am in today because it's a very challenging space, but it's a great reminder of what I'm built for.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Built for tough.
Yes, you know it. I'm a Rocky Balboa fan, so it's it's about all the get-ups, not the knockdowns, right?
Right. And that's life, right? You know, we get into these seasons, what I call the trenches, where, you know, we're getting cut up by everything under the sun. When we're trying to hop the fence, here comes another scab. You know, if we're trying to climb up the tree and, you know, we get obviously splinters, ow, there's another one. But it's through those scabs and scars is what make us truly who we are today, right? And so, Nafsheen, I got to ask this. You know I've read your bio, and this is what really wanted to really sprung me to have you on the show, because you've gone through a lot in your life. I mean, you've been molested, you've had body shame issues, and of course, even cancer. And let's be honest, in our society, when people hear the word cancer, it's doom, gloom, nothing, no type of sunshine can come from that. It's like a death sentence in some people's cases. And so for you, Nafsheen, how did you shift your mindset from a space of why does this keep happening to me to what is this trying to teach me?
Well, Portia, thank you for asking the question. And, I get this question asked to me in so many different ways, but the way in which you're asking it just brings me to the space of where I am now and what actually brought me to that space of being in this transformative energy, right? And it was this defining moment that made me come to this place, that made me realize why not me instead of why me, is when I was diagnosed with cancer for the second time, and I had a very little window to find out whether it's at stage 4 or 1 or how detrimental it was. And I had a 6-week span between the time that I was diagnosed the second time and the time that I would have my surgery to find out how far along I actually am. And these 6 weeks were the defining moments of my life. The first 2 were devastated. I made myself sick to my stomach every day, thinking that I'm going to die and I have nothing to show of my life. And then one of those nights, right after I had only 4 weeks left, I was just sitting in bed reflecting. And I told myself, if you really have only 4 weeks left, is this how you want to go out? Like, you want to go out in fear and pain and completely no gratitude and appreciation for what you've had so far? And then it just made me take a little inventory of my life. And as I looked back, I realized that my main goal in life was to help people. And the reason I was afraid of dying is because I had nothing to show of my life. I hadn't made a difference in anybody's life up to that point. And then I took an inventory of my life, and I saw that every challenging situation that happened brought with it a greater, bigger divine gift. And in each challenging situation, when I overcame it, I came closer to the person of my essence of who I was meant to be. And I would be able to then teach people on how to embrace this pain that's coming to them, because it's actually something that we ask for. Our soul has a divine purpose, and everything that's going to happen in our life is going to happen so we can get to fulfill that divine purpose. So if I hadn't been through all the challenges I've been through in life, and I didn't acquire the tools to overcome them, I wouldn't be able to fulfill my purpose of helping other people heal, because I don't have those tools. So every time I was in deeper pain, it builds in me the tools to love myself deeper. So I knew at that moment, and then, reflecting back to the body image issues in this defining moment on that same day when I was sitting in bed reflecting on everything, I had been very abusive to my body and myself, my life, my entire being most of my life. But at that moment when I was sitting and reflecting on my life, I heard a voice from inside me. It was a cry from every cell of my body saying, all I need you to do is love me. I just need you to love me. And I knew at that moment that this cancer was a gift too. All the fear was gone. And I knew that I'm going to come out of it just fine, out of the surgery just fine. It's not going to be something detrimental. It's not going to be stage 4. And I just completely calmed down from that point on until the day of surgery. I was completely fine. And I knew that, like, once I get over this, I'm going to do the work I need to do in this world to be able to heal people with art, because those are my gifts, healing people and art.
I'm gonna be honest, Nafsheen, I almost start crying just now because we all reach that crossroad, at least the resilient ones we do. We reach that crossroad in our life where we are asked to listen, because pain is not the enemy, as we both know. Pain
No.
is what drives us to that purpose, that divine calling. And so, Nafsheen, when you took that time to listen to that voice from within, what made you really take inventory instead of kind of brushing it off like we tend to? I know I've shared this story with some people where I was sitting in church one time and God told me to quit my job. He told me, like, Portia, don't go back to work Monday. You're done. And I'm looking around and nobody else is sitting around me, mind you. It's just me in this pew solo. And the person who's sitting a few spaces over from me, their mouth is not moving. But right. I heard God directly, Portia, you are done. Quit your job. I got you covered. So what made you, Nafsheen, really take that faith in God, or, however it works for you, really listen to that and stick to it instead of running away from it and brushing it off like we tend to do?
So ever since I was a kid, I have had so many different challenges, right? I went through 8 years of molestation from the age 4 to 12. And then after that, I started gaining weight at a really young age. But if you look at my pictures from age 4 to age 6, there's a dramatic difference in that child, because, she needed to protect herself, right, from what was happening. And so I went into the space of being inward, and everything outside me was completely alien. But inside here, I was in a lot of pain. I was alone in here, and I was in pain inside myself. Outside myself, everybody just saw a happy, chubby kid that was like eating and enjoying life. Okay. So from that point on, because our life, our the way we cope in life is from the inner child. Whatever the child learns is how the child is going to cope in life. And so I went through the molestation as a child, and then in my teenage years, I used to self-mutilate, because that's when I realized what was happening was wrong. And so I used to harm my body. And I was just always taught that if you are not skinny or light-skinned, you are not lovable and you are not beautiful. So everything stemmed from that childhood, even to this day, like because it's so deeply ingrained and I have done all the work that I've done on myself. Sometimes I'm still in belief of that judgment that, oh my God, I've gained like 5 pounds, nobody's going to love me, but I have to catch it because it comes from that little child. So when I was sitting in that space and thinking about everything that I had done in my life, and wondering why adversity keeps coming to me so much deeper. I'm a good person. I do everything for everyone. Like, like I give of myself. I give to charity. I give my classmates all my money. Like, and I love until there's no end to love, until it's like in the depths of everything. You give me 1%, I'm going to give you 200% because that's just who I am. But in this inventory, I realized that I never gave myself anything. There was nothing that I gave for myself, for me. I was at 36 years of age, and I had literally lived for everything and everybody outside myself at that point. At 18, my dad passed away, and we moved to the US from Kenya. And since then, I've been taking care of my mom. So it's been 24 years. And again, I took my dad's role in her life as her companion, as her provider. If it was not her, it would have been me giving of somebody else so I could be codependent and fill myself that way. I just realized that I need to fill myself for me, from me. And there's nothing outside that is ever going to, validate me in any way. Because I searched for outside validation, I searched for love outside, I searched for acceptance outside, I searched for reassurance outside, I searched for everything outside of myself. And the thing that fed me the most was the food, because that was my companion that would never leave. Friends would come and go, relationships would come and go, but the food never did. However, it was a companion, a friend, and also the enemy at the same time. So taking that inventory, when I saw all those difficult times in my life and how I had to overcome each relationship, when especially the hardest part was the relationships, because I always felt abandoned, and that I wasn't good enough. So when we're children, we develop a certain wounding pattern for ourselves, right? A story that we tell ourselves. And my particular wounding pattern was, I'm a fat, abandoned, unworthy victim. So that always happened anytime there was a devastating situation in my life. That's what I told myself. So fast forward, when I was an adult and I had relationships and we had a breakup, that's what I would tell myself. He left because I'm a fat, abandoned, unworthy victim. But answering your question about the inventory and how all these, situations lined up, because you can only connect the dots looking backwards, right? You can't connect them looking forward. I saw that each devastating situation in my life taught me one thing I needed to learn to get closer to myself each time. Every time I lost myself and that connection with who I was and my essence, a situation would come in that would give me pain to then reconnect to that essence of myself. And for the longest time, I wasn't willing to connect the dots and have, make sense of the pain that I was going through. But there came a time where the pain kept getting deeper, and it kept getting more devastating, and it kept bringing more things to surface. Until that point happened, then I was like, okay, I can't suffer anymore. I have to go and figure out why I'm in this repetitive, painful pattern and how I can break it for myself and for the people that I'm supposed to heal.
And that is where the magic happens, is where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And my mom had a saying, Nafsheen, that food is both your medicine and your killer. So we're going to take a quick break right here on Group Portia. Everybody stick with us. We will be right back. welcome back right here on Group Portia. I'm joined remotely with Nafsheen Luhar. We were just having a great conversation, of course, about transition, transformation, and how she shifted her mindset from what is this, why does this keep happening to me, to what is this trying to teach me? So Nafsheen, let's talk about grief for a moment. I mean, we all experience so many different series of events in our life, both favorable and unfavorable. And let's be honest, these experiences, right? They shape our identity. They become a part of us, right? And so, what did it take for you to give yourself grace while shedding part of your identity to heal it?
Gosh, that's a beautiful question. What gave me grace? You know, to be honest, I've been very, very hard on myself, like extremely hard. And that comes from me being told that I'm not good enough and being compared to my older siblings who were always straight A students. But what I came to this place that made me be kind to myself was the beginning stages were at that time when when I was like diagnosed with cancer and I was having that epiphany. I learned that I have to love myself and be kind to myself. But that's a very hard lesson to learn and embody when you don't even know what self-love really is. Like we put this word self-love out there, so now it's cliche, like self-love and self-care and all that. But like to the depth of the core of it, what it really means is not eating healthy and working out. That's not only what self-love means. It means um it means being kind to yourself, the thoughts you think about yourself, setting boundaries, who you surround yourself with, what you tell yourself on a everyday basis. What is your environment like? Is it messy? Is it clean? Like, how do you deserve to wake up? Do you deserve to wake up in a clean environment or a messy environment? What are your finances like? Like self-love is peace all around, and what you're doing to make sure that you're in that energy of love and peace and bliss within yourself and what's surrounding you as well. And as I as I was comparing myself to everybody of my age and what they're accomplishing and what they're not, and me being single, alone, taking care of a parent, I was always hard on myself. But then when I was in the space of finding self-love within myself, I of course had a beautiful community that supported me. A wonderful human being came into my life, and she as a trainer, and she's now a best friend. And if she wasn't there in my life, I don't know if I would be who I am. But when you're ready, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so she made me fall in love with myself in my discomfort, in my 350-pound body, in whatever mess I was in. She made me believe in my biggest dream when I didn't even know how to dream. She taught me to dream. And my biggest dream was to lose weight. My biggest dream, I dared to dream bigger than what she taught me. So, but every time she was teaching me something, I would be like, no, I need to do better. I need to do harder. Until one day I was like, I'm going to do 6 hours of cardio. And she's like, if you really want to do that, go do that. But at that time, those are the things that made me realize that I need to be kinder to myself, to have grace. Like, what is exactly have I been doing to my body all this time? Like, it was abused as a child for so long, and then I started to abuse it. They stopped, the abuser stopped, but then I continued it. And I was like, what exactly am I doing to myself? Like, then I really started to address everything the little girl had been through. I tried to heal the inner child, to heal myself. But there was some separation and gap between her and I, because I was kind to myself and I felt sorry for her, but I never united the two of us together. Until another teacher came into my life and we had a very profound exchange and experience with each other. And we met for coffee one day, and he's a beautiful spiritual teacher in my life. And he's like, let me just hold your hands and let me feel into your energy. So he did, and he closed his eyes and I closed my eyes, and he opened his eyes with a lot of tears, and he's like, I don't normally see visions. And he's like, but I saw a vision today. And I'm like, what did you see? And he's like, there's a little girl. She's 4 years old, and it's scary. She's in the middle of the ocean, lost in a canoe. You need to bring her home. And I was just like, I was dumbfounded. I was in tears myself, and I could completely see why he's seeing that. It's because I addressed what happened to her, and then I kept it separate. I never brought her and I together. So then that's when I started doing the deeper inner child work. And every time anything triggered me, I knew that it was what the ways in which she needed that people hadn't shown up for her. That's why I was being triggered. So I began to have grace and nurture and treat myself like a 4-year-old child that was scared. I began to have that much love and compassion for myself on a daily basis. So, like, being kind to ourselves is extremely essential, because we are so used to being hard on ourselves and that what we're doing is not good enough. It's so deeply ingrained. Even if we just woke up every morning and we just sat in our bed and did absolutely nothing, we still deserve to be kind to ourselves. Like, that's the amount of compassion that we need to have. And I'm not saying that, like, just be lazy and don't do anything. But what I'm saying is that, like, no matter what we do, instead of being hard on ourselves and like pushing, if we just allow ourselves to experience what we want to experience, our space for creation and becoming who we are meant to be and what we're meant to do in this world opens up so much bigger.
Ooh, Nafsheen, I gotta ask this: the little girl in the canoe out in the ocean, has she been reeled in? And once you reeled her in, how does that now merger and forgiveness and congruence between the two of you look like today?
Oh, she's definitely merged in. She's definitely merged in. I keep her next to me all the time. Every morning when I look at myself in the mirror and I have critical thoughts of my body, I see her watching me, and I see her looking up to me for inspiration, and I see her having those same thoughts about her body. And what would I tell her if she was critical about her body? So we are very much in tune with each other. So whatever I get to tell her that she is perfect in God's creation, or whoever out there in the world created her to be this essence of God, that he or she does not create anything that is imperfect, I get to say that to myself too. We're all a work in progress, and I'm working to be my best self in every single way. But at this given moment, I am at my best self, as we all are. And so I don't get to criticize her for being this beautiful, divine child. And then in turn, I don't get to criticize myself either. So we formed a very, very beautiful relationship with each other. And so I keep her by me, especially when I am triggered and distressed. I go back deep into this space and see what is it that she needs. Sometimes it's not just a little 4-year-old. Sometimes it's the teenager who was in the bathroom alone cutting herself. What does she need? So it's different phases of the person that got me to hear the different phases of myself that I was alone and in pain, that I address whenever things come up that need to be addressed. So I'm uniting with all versions of myself.
And Nafsheen, for our listeners who are tuning in, what step can they take today to become healed with their inner child, right? Because we've all had experiences in our life that have separated us. Even myself, I had to literally hug mine. I had to hug her because it's funny that you bring up the canoe out in the ocean. Mine was scared in a corner holding a teddy bear. And when I did a Reiki session, the Reiki practitioner told me, Portia, you need to hug her. You need to hug her and apologize, because she's afraid of you. She's afraid of all the angry outbursts. She's afraid of your temper. She's afraid because you've isolated her, but she is you.
Right.
And it took some work, Nafsheen. I mean, I literally kind of had to bait mine to come out of
Right.
the coin.
Yeah. 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 It definitely takes some work. So you're asking, how do we
Where can people start today to heal
break it?
that inner child?
Gosh, there's so many tools I can offer. I'm trying to figure out where I started with mine. I think the most essential thing for me was, sometimes it's not even how to start. Sometimes it's just being ready and open to start. Sometimes the how comes. If you're open and willing to heal the inner child and you're ready, the way in which she will want you to heal her will emerge. I could say you can meditate and, sit with yourself alone for a while. There's also a lot of healing inner child meditations out there. I could say that you can reflect to what she loved to do when she was a kid that you stopped doing, like anything creative, painting, dancing in the rain, all those things that are more fun. Expressing yourself, dressing up like in your favorite costume with whatever cartoon you used to watch as a child, to really connect with her. I could say that you can go into hypnotherapy to like go back in time and connect with the most painful time of your inner child. There's so many different things, but where I started was, I started, with traditional therapy that got me started with addressing what the inner child was. But therapy was wonderful for that time, but after that I needed to go a little bit deeper. So I connected with her through hypnotherapy, then I connected with her through spirituality, and that is where my journey has come now, to this very, very deep spiritual space that is, like that you can fulfill yourself in every single way: love, abundance, happiness, joy, peace, all from within yourself, because it is completely inherent within you. So when you, like, the part that connects me most to my inner child is because this is you have to, I guess you have to search for what your self-expression as a child was. I loved dancing and I loved painting. I'm an artist. So for me, when I am separated from myself and I'm in any kind of distress, I put on my sexy clothes, I put on my makeup, I put on all my jewelry, I go in the garage at night, I turn on a bunch of candles and my favorite music, and I let my body do whatever it's going to do to connect with that space. Or I pull out my canvas and my paints, and I just express whatever is in my soul on that canvas. So to be able to be an authentic self-expression without inhibitions, without what thinking about what people are going to say or think or do, that is the inherent energy of the pure divine inner child. Because children don't, they're honest, they don't really care what people think, they just want to be themselves. So allow yourself to be yourself, completely, radically, unapologetically. If you can just allow yourself to do that once in a day, whether you're alone or whether you're with people, or whether you want to say something that you're hiding, that place of like expressing yourself unapologetically, whatever way that is really going to help you get out of yourself and unite with that inner child. And then I would really recommend, if people are struggling with inner child healing, that you find a picture of yourself when you feel like your trauma started, or when you're in distress over that the part of yourself that you're connected with, and actually either write a letter to that person, like write a letter to that inner child, or sit with her in meditation. If you're silent and you ask the questions, you will 100% guarantee you will receive the answer that you want. You might have to try it a few times, but ask her the question. Ask her, like, what do you need from me? And you will 100% get the answer. You might not think like it's the answer, but usually the first thought that comes after you ask the question is what you really need to heal for yourself, and what in turn your inner child needs. So I gave you like a plethora of ways to connect with her, but because I went through all those different tools. But if I were to narrow it down to one, I would say just be in your authentic self expression. Go back to what your inner child did for fun when they were kids. Go build Legos, like whatever that child wants to do. I'm such a big kid, like little things make me happy. Like I still sleep with a stuffed toy because it makes me happy. Okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I still love to play dress up and be in fantasy land. And my sister always told me, you live in your little fantasy. Well, you know what? It's better than watching news all day and living in this other fantasy. So I'd rather live in my little world that's very happy and peaceful, and in that way I can give more of myself to the world with love and without fear. So
Yes,
yeah,
unapologetically yourself, like you said it. I mean,
exactly.
just connecting, the
Mm-hmm.
power of really self-expression, on
Mm-hmm.
authentic self-expression, whether it's through art, whether it's through dancing, whether it's through watching movies, whatever it was, we all have that ability to definitely reconnect with our inner child. So we're going to take another quick break right here on Good Portia. Everybody stick with us. We will be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back right here on Group Portia. I'm doing remotely with Nafsheen Luhar, and we're just continuing our conversation around healing your inner child and doing the deep work. So, Nafsheen, if one of our listeners was interested in connecting with you and learning more about you, is there a website or social media handle you can share with us today?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook at Nafsheen Luhar. You can find me on Instagram at nafsheen.luhar. You can find me on TikTok at nafsheen.luhar. And you can find me at nafsheen.com on my website.
Excellent, excellent. So, Nafsheen, I want to talk about your art really quick. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a chance to look, and you truly are. You remind me of me, literally. I mean, now I'm not as good with painting the way that you are. And I can paint my nails all fun colors, but that's for a whole another day. I saw on your website a painting of this warrior woman with a sword, and it made me think
Mm-hmm.
of my tattoo that I have on my back. My
Mm-hmm.
tattoo on my back is a female centaur with a bow and arrow, and she's tribal looking, very detailed tattoo. My very first one that I got it at 25. And so I noticed in the picture there was a light around her, and that
Mm-hmm.
really emulated her full essence. And so,
Mm-hmm.
Nafsheen, for you, when did this warrior for you awaken in your life?
First of all, thank you for taking a moment to look at my website and my art. I appreciate that. And for appreciating it means a lot to me. For artists, our art is the language of our soul. So when it's appreciated, it's felt on a very deeper level. So that particular painting is actually a painting of one of my clients whose story I captured, and her video is also on my website. So part of the work that I do is I capture, I transform adversity into art. So I photographed her whole story from everything that she had been through and where she is now. And then once she's in her power, I painted her as a result of our our pain is beautiful and creating a masterpiece out of our pain. And the reason her and I work together is because our stories are very similar. She also comes from a background of molestation and a lot of abusive marriages. And then she found Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and she started training in it. And now she's a women's self defense coach. For me, when my trainer came into my life, I started boxing. And that made me find the warrior in me because, like a chubby Muslim girl from Africa who was very reserved and always told you're going to amount to nothing, boxing was me fighting for my life. It was a literal fight. So when I went to my first boxing workout, I had so much anger and so many emotions inside of me. towards the people that abused me, towards my parents for not being there, towards nobody seeing that I'm in my family, that I'm growing up overweight and I'm different from all the other siblings. Why can't we see what's happening with her? Like, I had all this anger, and my body was a prison that I created to keep myself safe. But boxing made me find the warrior inside me. It made me, it is actually like a release of the resilient, amazing woman that I was made to be. And so when I put those gloves on and when I'm hitting the bag, or I'm, doing mitt work with my trainer, I feel like in this complete, divine, amazing masculine energy. I'm a very feminine female, but like in that space of being in this environment of working out, nothing matters but what I'm there to do. And that fight is for my actual life. So that's what unleashed the warrior within me. Like, when I go to work out, I'm a completely different person. Like, you see me as this calm, collective, meditative person, but when I'm in there, I want blood, sweat, and tears, and there's nothing else that I want when I'm in there. Okay. So I'm very much in a good balance with my feminine and my masculine energy, because we're all, we all have both within us, and we have to balance that correctly so we can show up in life in a full way. And for the longest time, I didn't even realize that I had masculine energy within me. But as I've been working on myself, I'm like, this is where the masculine comes out. This is why I'm in balance. I have formed this balance because my masculine comes out at that part, and it's like there's nothing else that I want there than to just accomplish this amazing workout, because it makes me feel like everything that everybody told me I couldn't physically do, I'm physically doing it. No matter whether I've reached my weight loss goal or not, I'm still doing it. I've lost 120 pounds doing what I'm doing. So yeah, so that's where the warrior aligns. And then her part of the story is that she's been through so much, but she feels like she's a guardian. She's meant to keep people safe. That's why when I captured that story of her, she was a women's self-defense coach, but now she has graduated and she's a sheriff now. So that was her painting. And if anybody wants to go on my website and they go to the section that's called Transforming Adversity into Art, they will see her whole story and her process there.
Wow. So let me make sure, Nafsheen, that when we meet in person, I stand at a distance just in case. I'm only kidding.
No, Portia, you'll only have to stand at a distance if we're working out together. Otherwise, if I meet you, I'm hugging you for the whole day. Okay.
Okay. Make sure that there's no boxing gloves around so I can make sure this is some type of trick.
I only use those to beat my trainer up, nobody else.
So look, I gotta ask this, Nafsheen. I mean, you're very detailed in your coloring. I noticed in that picture there's a lot of red, there's green, there's blue, there's also yellow. And so for you, Nafsheen, what do certain colors symbolize in your life? Does red represent like overcoming, or does it represent pain? What in that particular painting do the colors really symbolize?
In that particular painting, she is, first of all, she's wearing black, and that's the color of power. It's also the color of pain and grief and sadness, which is a lot of what she's gone through. And then there is green and gold. Green is for the heart chakra, which is love, and gold is for enlightenment. So hence the gold halo around her. And red is, and orange is for the energy of power and vibrancy. So I wanted to really, really make it very dramatic, because that's her story is very dramatic, and give this energy that's of fire building within yourself. And so she has this fire to help other people with what she's been through, and she is like undefeated no matter what happens. So that's the logic behind the painting.
See, you can tell I'm very, very deeply go into art. I love art myself. I mean, I'm my own photographer, and
Mm-hmm.
I write short stories and little skits and
Mm-hmm.
things all the time. So I'm very much attuned to how there's a meaning behind the meaning, if that
Yeah.
makes
I'm
sense.
so happy that you asked me that question, because all the other podcasts that I've been through, they never asked me the meaning behind the colors of the painting. But as far as an artist, each painting has a deeper meaning behind it. And thank you so much for asking that. Yeah.
For me, it was seeing this warrior, and I'm like, what really sparked that warrior essence within you? Because I think each of us who have been
Mm-hmm.
through trauma, who have been through trials and tribulations, have that flame, like what you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned with the red and the orange, the vibrancy, that flame that never completely goes out. It may go dim for a little bit, hence
Mm-hmm.
the darkness around, but through that dark path, there's always
Mm-hmm.
that glimmer of light that
Mm-hmm.
continues to pave the way for us to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So, Nafsheen, I got to ask this for this particular painting, and maybe for some of your other ones, about how many hours do you spend on just one?
Oh gosh, they all vary depending on the detail of the painting and how big they are. So that one is about 30 by 40. Generally, it will take me between 2 to 3 weeks to complete one. Sometimes it's longer. I have another painting on my website of a guitarist that took me about a month and a half to complete. But so there's a few different components that go into it. There's of course collecting the story, then there's coming up with the concept and the colors. Then I actually photograph the person and use that picture to create the painting as my reference. So then I do the makeup, the design, the costume. I photograph her in the light that I want to photograph her. Then I take that and I transfer that into I create a digital painting out of it. Then I print that out and then I put that on canvas and make it. So the process is very long, and I'll make maybe 10, 15, 30, 50, I don't know how many ever digital art pieces that I want that really resonate with my vision for it until I get to actually making the painting. So it takes anywhere from, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the size and the amount of work that goes into it.
And I love that because you literally are the creative director through the whole process. I mean, you meet these people, you learn their whole story from
Mm-hmm.
turning their mess of life into a message. You
Mm-hmm.
take their picture, you paint them in this certain, you already painted, no pun intended. And you also take the still picture of that moment in their life of, look, this is where they are, but this is where they started. And then you're
Right.
able to encompass both the dark and the light
Right.
into one painting. That's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for appreciating it.
With me being an artist, Nafsheen, I appreciate all art because to me, art, no matter what, I do wood burnings. So
Mm-hmm.
I can
Oh my God, I would
understand.
love how to learn. I would love to learn that. I want to
Oh
see your
yeah.
wood burnings.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. When we're done with this conversation, I'll definitely
Okay.
show you a few. I'll send
Okay.
you a couple pictures,
Okay.
and that's kind of like my freedom of expression. I'm somebody who loves words. So a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
I'll would burn different words a funny way. Like somebody asked me for God is love. So what
Mm-hmm.
I did was I put kind of like a different twist on it. Instead of making it just a straight God is love, I put God kind of like in the symbol of a Trinity,
Mm-hmm.
God, and then is kind of at an angle. And then love, I put a heart, but then I wrote the word love inside of the heart.
Oh
So
my
it
God, I want to see that.
so it's being like you said, the creative director, and also seeing the vision and then putting it into fruition is just a whole
Mm-hmm.
different type of
Yeah.
ordeal and feeling. But we're gonna
Sometimes it's so exciting you can't go to sleep at night until you have the vision ready for the next day, right?
right. And that's why even for me with wood burnings, it takes me about a 2 or 3 day process, depending on how big the project is. But that's for a whole nother day. We're going to take another quick break right here on Group Portia. Everybody stick with us. We will be right back. everybody. Welcome back right here on Groove with Portia. Well, Nafsheen, I thank you so much for being a part of this conversation and sharing with our listeners your story from trials to triumph to, finding a way to blend all of your wonderful gifts into helping people to heal from whatever baggage and trauma that they've gone through in life. I'm truly inspired. I'm sure that our listeners are as well. And I hope that they're able to find that blend and balance within their life to incorporate all their gifts and to use them to make their life even more plentiful. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Now, Sheen, I got to ask this. I mean, I can tell both of us vibe on the same energy frequency of being so passionate about what we do. I mean, from whether being a storyteller or podcast host, radio host, you artist in all different facets, because you're also a photographer like me, and we'll have to talk about that. I always wonder, how do you find that balance, Nafsheen, between your passion for helping others and also maintaining your own mental well-being?
I think they're interconnected. Because if I am doing the work that I need to do in the world and serving the people that I need to serve, then on a daily basis, I am thriving because I'm serving my purpose. Are they low days? Of course. I'm going through a couple of low days right now because I put something out there with my whole passion and it wasn't received the way I expected it to be. But that's life. That's life. And that's going to make us feel down. It's going to bring all those thoughts of unworthiness and people don't love what I have and this, that, or the other. But again, that is a complete other sign of saying, hey, this is to let you know that you need to believe deeper in yourself and continue doing what you need to do, regardless of what's out there, because when the time is ready and the people are ready, they're going to come. So to do whatever I need to do to be really present in my mental state is to, because feelings aren't facts, right? Feelings aren't facts. And like the way we feel of people accepting us or not may not be true. There might be a million of people who love us and want what we do. They're just not ready there. They're just not right now, or we're just not reaching out to the right people. So there's like so many different factors that we think that our feelings are actual facts. But what I really try to focus on when I feel off kilter or when I don't feel connected to my deepest self, I have a set of things that I go back to. One, I will speak to one of my closest spiritual friends who knows my soul deeply, so she can get all the gunk out of my head and tell me, hey, let's give you a reality check. Because sometimes as spiritual leaders and as spiritual teachers and as people who have gone through a lot of transformation, people expect us that when a difficult time comes, we should be able to get out of it easily. But we are also human. And sometimes when you're in it, no matter how much knowledge you have, sometimes when you're in it, you just can't see what you need to see when you're in it. You need a mirror outside of you to reflect it back to you that, hey, remember when you told me this at this time, or this is what's going on inside of you, and then you catch it. Sometimes you can catch it without having another person tell you. Or I know that anytime that I'm outside of myself, when I go out, when I move my energy, when I actually get out and move or do a workout or something, working out and having the endorphins in your body, whether it's if you go for a walk in nature or you meditate out in nature or you do boxing or whatever, when you move your body, the energy shifts, no matter what it is. You can still be crying and you can still be in grief and you can still be devastated, but your energy is still going to shift. If that doesn't help, then I definitely tap into my creative energy, whether it's planting flowers. That's a new thing that I picked up during COVID, is like being a gardener. Otherwise I used to like kill everything, but now I'm obsessed with plants, and it's like fascinating to watch something you plant grow big, and I'm like, oh my god, I made that happen. Like I gave something life and I didn't like kill it. And so I do that, or I plant, but I do what I need to do to put myself in balance. And sometimes this may sound a little, like dark, but like I give myself as much time as I need to sit down and cry. like to just release it. And it's like the best thing, like to have a really, really good cry, either with somebody you love, a good friend, or you just sit in your space and you just like let it go. Like go in a place where you can drive and nobody can hear you and you're just screaming and letting it out, because that's a release of energy from your body that no longer needs to be there. So there's again a plethora of tools on how to come in balance, but these are the things that help me. I start with the not crying first, and then if I need to go to the end, then I go to the end.
Nasheen, I can definitely relate to the crying thing because I
Yeah.
I used to be against it from
Mm-hmm.
growing up in a household with all boys and a strong line of women. It's like, oh no, you can't shed a tear. That's not a thing. You can't be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable. You have to suck it up, keep it moving. But I had to learn to let go of that belief and ideology, especially when I was
Right.
going through the heavy grief process of my mom transitioning. I
Right.
really had to learn to let that go and just give myself permission to unleash those unwanted emotions, because they'll
Mm-hmm.
get stuck in your body. And we know how that goes. That's for a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
conversation for another day.
Right. Right.
Nafsheen, I thank you so much again for coming on. We're going to be wrapping up here soon. And, I always love to save this question for last. You have left us with so many words of inspiration, so much food for thought, no pun intended, um, other ways to really channel our energy into a creative outlet, whether we're going through pain, whether we're going through grief, whatever that may be. For our listeners who are tuning in, Nafsheen, what words of inspiration can you leave with our listeners today? Whether it's someone who was once in your shoes, or if it's
Mm-hmm.
someone who is presently wanting to make a difference in their life, maybe their things are going a little rocky and they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to fall into the victim boat. What words of
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, Nafsheen, can you leave with our listeners today?
The deepest thing that I can leave for your listeners is that pain is an extremely beautiful thing. If you allow it to penetrate every cell of your being and you don't resist it, it is going to take you to places that you never knew possible. It is the pain is the healing and the pain is the cure. We're always searching for healing and cure to run away from the pain, but it is the healing and it is the cure if you let your entire being absorb it without resistance. Like now, when I'm in distress anytime, I'm like, awesome, I have something in me that needs to be loved, heard, and seen that I haven't yet tapped into. So this is one more thing that I can use to heal to help other people. And if I were to leave you with an inspirational thought, I would just say that sometimes when we're in a dark place and we feel like we've been buried, we have actually been planted. So I would like to end with that beautiful quote because that resonates so true to my heart.
Oh, Nashing, I can definitely relate to that. I tell people that when we're in a space of comfort, the comfort zone is equivalent to planting a seed in a drought. A seed in a drought is not going to grow. A
Mm-hmm.
seed in a drought is going to just stay there until it
Right.
eventually withers. So I tell a lot of my friends and people who are like, Portia, how do you do it all? How do you keep moving? I said, I step into the arena of being uncomfortable. I embrace uncomfortable with a comfortable hug.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's where the magic happens. That's where the growth happens. That's where the
Right.
healing happens.
Right.
Is
The,
when
the magic happens right before we're going to give up.
that's where you
Yeah.
hit the gold mine, right?
Yeah.
That's where
Exactly.
you hear of all these different stories of people digging for like different items, or they reach a certain destination and they're like, oh my God, the GPS stopped. We don't know where to go. So we're going to turn all the way back, knowing if they would have just driven 5 more minutes, they would have reached the road to El Dorado.
Mm-hmm.
But how many of us turn right back around the minute that the going gets tough? So for our listeners today, definitely go the extra mile. Be the exception. Because one thing that I've learned is the extra mile is truly never
Never
crowded.
crowded.
Well, everybody, That was your transformation coach herself, Miss Nafsheen Luhar, that you heard from. And that concludes another episode of Grew with Portia, everybody. Thanks for listening and have a great and awesome evening, everybody.